Get it.
Welcome to On the Couch, the podcast where real conversations meet real change. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, and join us as we dive deep into the conversations that matter most to Black and Brown communities. Hosted by Dr. Diamond and an incredible lineup of co-hosts. On the Couch brings you raw, insightful, and empowering discussions, from mental health and wellness to entrepreneurship, life insurance, healthcare, and everything in between. Our mission is simple: to educate, uplift, and create space for conversations that need to be heard. Whether you're here for practical advice, motivation, or just a dose of inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the things that shape our lives, our futures, and our communities. This is On the Couch, where we keep it real, keep it relevant, and keep it moving. Let's get started.
All right, as I was saying, there's a lot of things going on in the world in terms of what's going on with women and the support of women. There's no doubt about that. I know that women have played a very important part in my life and all along those lines. So I'm always glad to have those conversations about how important women are. I mean, most of the arts organizations that I have been part of have been run by women and all along those lines. I'm thinking about folks like the young ladies Monet Marshall and other folks that are involved here at the Hayti Heritage Center, even some past leaders like Diane Pledger and others as well. So I've had a lot of women leaders in the organizations I've worked at, including Yvonne Coleman at the Durham Arts Council and a number of other folks as well. So women have played a very vital part in my life and all along those lines. But I just learned something very interesting today because the cultural arts center that I work at, there was a young lady that might be talking about the notion of getting our young people to understand how to do an interview, like a job interview and everything like that. So she just came here to look at one of our spaces, but she comes from the world of media, but also the world of job coaches and everything like that. So she started a company. She came from Charlotte, but her and her husband just recently moved to the Durham area and everything. So she's going to start teaching people how to do successful interviews because unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the importance of communication and how to do successful interviews, even if they're going for a job. But she also came from the background of real estate, and she was telling me that there's only about 1% of real estate women that are African American women in when it comes to real estate development and everything like that. And I think I had read some statistics that in terms of real estate, just in general, 6.1% of the real estate agents in the U.S. are African American, period. And this is not even talking about the ones that are women and things along those lines. So we know real estate is a very important industry. It's a driver of the economy and all along those lines. So we've definitely got to do a better job of making sure that we get some of our women involved in this very important field. I mean, there are a lot of fields that women are very much known for, like the beautician field and, of course, nursing and a number of other fields. But there are fields that need to have some more glass ceilings broken and everything like that. So while I'm a big proponent of women and everything like that, Dr. Diamond, I also know that there are still some glass ceilings that need to be shattered. So when this lady told me, I'm not sure if that was just in the Charlotte area or nationally, but I was just shocked at the low number of real estate developers that are actually into this field that are African American women, because she is actually one of them and everything like that. So there are some fields that need to still have that glass ceiling shattered and everything like that. So that's what I would add to our conversation about the role of women is there are still some industries that need to have that glass ceiling totally shattered. I mean, I want the pieces broken like into shards and everything like that. So I don't know what your thoughts about that, but there's definitely some fields that we got to break out and get more into, and real estate development is apparently one of them.
Yes, I agree with that. John, real quick, I do need the link to give to Anika because she wasn't on here for us to get back on. So I gotta give it to her.
All right.
So I do agree that we still have a long way to go. We did have made a bump in the road. Like we've done stuff. Women have done some wonderful things. We got a lot of women. Oh, she says she has somewhere to go. Okay, so it'll just be the three of us. No problem. Okay, so anyway, what I wanted to do real quickly before we end our show for today is I do want to go ahead and continue to highlight a few names real quickly. We did have like fun facts on some of these women. You know, you guys, you were not on it, and there's no problem. So when you hear the playback, you'll hear some of the women that we actually highlighted. So pillars of Black history and civil rights. We did have Harriet Tubman, which you mentioned, Dean. Sojourner Truth, you mentioned her as well. I talked about Ida B. Wells. I highlighted her today. Fannie Lou Hamer, I highlighted her today as well. Ella Baker, she was the one SNCC organizer, community center leadership. Coretta Scott King, Diane Nash, freedom rider. And then you talked about Shirley Chisholm. You did mention her. Artists and creatives and cultural shapers. We have Maya Angelou, Dr. Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, Zora Neale Hurston, Nina Simone, Josephine Baker, Faith Ringgold. She's an artist, a quilt storyteller. Octavia Butler, which I talked about. She's a sci-fi visionary. Lorraine Hansberry, she was a playwright. If people don't know, A Raisin in the Sun. Healer, educators, and intellectuals. We have Dr. Joy DeGruy, Dr. Maya Angelou, Dr. Patricia Bath, Dr. Ruth Simmons, first Black Ivy League president, Anna Julia Cooper, and Mary McLeod Bethune. Modern trailblazers and history makers. We have Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, Ava DuVernay, Serena Williams, Tarana Burke, Beyonce Knowles Carter, and Amanda Gorman. Unsung and undertold Black women in history, Claudette Colvin. We have Henrietta Lacks, Mamie Till Mobley, Marsha P. Johnson, Bessie Coleman, Katherine Johnson, and Frances Harper, and Ona Judge. Global women in history. Now, these are some names I'm going to try to pronounce. I'm going to try my best. If I mess them up, forgive me. So we have Wangari Maathai, a Kenyan environmentalist. Of course, Queen Nzinga, I know. Yaa Asantewaa, Guyanan warrior queen. Mary Seacole, a Jamaican nurse, and Miriam Makeba, which we know is a Southern African singer. So we know that. And then I mentioned some Black, some Hispanic and Native American women. I'm going to mention them again. We have Dolores Huerta. We have Cecilia Cruz. We have Ellen Ochoa. We have Frida Kahlo. We have Wilma Mankiller and Deb Haaland. And these are the women that I wanted to highlight today for really Women History Month. And this, I challenge all of you to go out and look up these women, get more about them, because again, they have made some impact in this world. They are a legacy. They have done things, and no, they're not your everyday celebrities. These are women that have done some stuff on the ground, boots on the ground. They have put their boots on the ground and they have made changes. And I wanted to highlight them again today. And I hope, again, you all have learned something from us today here on the couch. And Mark and John, thank you very much for coming on and you giving us, your feelings about, Women History Month and the impact that some women have made in your lives. So I appreciate that,
no
so
problem and everything.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm glad to do that and everything. I just wanted to add just a couple other names that you didn't mention, because actually later on this evening we're going to have Melissa Harris Perry here, who is a great TV anchor and has definitely been involved in politics and a number of other things. And she's a professor as well. I believe she's at Elon. She's also taught at Wake Forest, where Maya Angelou was at, and everything like that. But she'll be here talking about politics and the media here at the Hayti Heritage Center. But you can look her up. Melissa Harris Perry has been involved in media for a number of years and everything like that. I believe it's Melissa Harris Perry Lacewell, if I remember correctly, because she just got remarried not that long ago and all along those lines. But I think she goes by her TV name of Melissa Harris Perry and everything like that. And of course, right here in Durham, you cannot talk about civil rights without talking about Pauline Murray, who was definitely very much involved as a African American Episcopal priest, part of the AME kind of philosophy and everything like that. But she was very much involved in the Brown versus Board of Education, was involved in a lot of things in the LGBTQ community, as well as in the creation of civil rights laws and everything like that. So definitely, if you're not familiar with Pauline Murray, learn about her. We've got a Pauline Murray Center here in Durham and everything like that. But she is very much of a historical figure that more people need to know about that probably don't know about her. And even in that same area, last year in 2025, we lost a true icon, Dr. LaVanya Allison, who was a Durham and North Carolina civil rights activist, and she created one of the major PACs here in this area and everything like that. So she was a longtime activist, educator, and politician who fought for social justice and equity right here in Durham. She led the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black Women and inspired a lot of women to get involved in politics and everything like that. So she was very much involved in that whole role, and she passed away in 2025, which would have been last year and everything like that. And apparently the first Black woman to own a TV station, Clara McLaughlin, was a member of the Zeta Phi Beta sorority. And we know that a lot of leaders in that space are coming from the whole notion of the sorority life as well. So she was born in Brunswick, Georgia, raised in Gainesville, Florida, and her passion for journalism ignited during her high school years. And she wrote, produced, and distributed the school's only student newsletter, laying the foundation for her future career. After high school, she attended Hampton Institute. I know that's a school that definitely Dean knows about and everything like that. Majored in music before joining the U.S. Navy Waves and working as a yeoman and organist in the Navy Chapel. But she did a lot of stuff in terms of her journalism career, becoming one of the founders of the National Black Communication Society and all along those lines. So she owned a lot of papers because her groundbreaking achievement came in 1979 when she successfully petitioned the Federal Communications Commission to approve a television allocation in Houston aiming to portray women and minorities positively. She founded KLMG, a CBS-affiliated television station in Longview, Texas, becoming the first African-American woman to own and operate a network-affiliated TV station. So she did that, and then she also was involved in media in the sense of owning some newspapers as well. Because from 2002 until her passing in 2021, she owned and published the Florida Star, the oldest African-American owned newspaper in Northeast Florida, and launched the Georgia Star in 2005. And she also hosted a weekly radio talk show, Impact, and was a media participant on Jacksonville's PBS affiliate Weekend Review. And speaking of media and all along those lines, I mentioned Mom earlier. Mom was, I believe, the first host of the Black Issues Forum on our local North Carolina PBS station and everything like that. So she was the first host, as I recall, of that particular show that is still going on to this day. So it's been going on for a while, but she was definitely trying to make sure that a lot of issues were brought to the forefront. It's part of the reason that her and my dad founded the radio station that they founded in rural North Carolina and all along those lines. So that's just a couple of folks, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who we know was a Supreme Court justice and everything like that, and Betty Friedan, who was very much a part of the whole women's rights movement and everything like that. I could go on and on because I'm a big fan of folks like Jane Fonda and a number of other activist type folks, even in the world of television, like Susan Sarandon and others as well. But yeah, women have played a vital role in my life, and that's just a couple of folks that I admire that I just named just then. And I can also say Diane Sawyer is somebody that I admire as well, and everything like that. I can go on with many other names, but that at least adds to our list of folks that folks should know if they don't already know them.
Yes. Thank you for that. Man, also to our unsung heroes that we have every day, we have people that are in the medical field that are unsung heroes. We have people that are in the mental health field that are unsung heroes. We have people that are working in regular jobs, and I mean regular as in people that greet us at our doors, waitresses, and I'm talking about at Walmart, and you have people at the pharmacies. So these are unsung heroes that are women that are working every day to make their day or someone else's day bright. Also, again, just the everyday mother, those that are at home and they're being the caretaker for everyone at home, the housewives, they're doing that's a heavy job
That's a
to
real
run
heavy
a
job.
house. Yes, and it's an unpaid job. It's a thankless job, but we're going to thank you and highlight you all today. Again, you do not have to be a celebrity woman to be highlighted, because there are women out here that are working so hard and no one thanks them. So here on the couch, we are going to thank you today for all that you have contributed, and you are leaving a legacy behind, because there are other children or other girls looking at what you're doing right now, and they too can take what you have and go beyond that and become a creator of something else because of what you have done and what you have shown them to become, and never to give up and to keep going. And that's how I see it for our unsung heroes. So now that we get into the end of our show, we will have a quick reflection. Guys, before I end, I will, of course, say what I need to say last, but, your parting words for today.
I'll start off and everything like that if you want me to. But yes, I think that
Mhm.
you are so right that we have to reflect on those unsung heroes. I mean, we're in the middle of the NCAAs, and it's now both the NCAA tournament for the men and the women. And we know that there have been a
Mhm.
lot of great women athletes that have been coming out, whether that's the ones that we are familiar with, like Caitlin Clark and a number of others that are out there, including Angel and a number of others that are out there as well, and all along those lines. But there are other ones that are not as known and should be known. Of course, we know the coaches like Dawn Staley and everything like that. But to your point, there are a lot of women coaches, a lot of women teachers that don't get the credit that they need, even though they are helping to raise the next generation and all along those lines. So I think it's important that we recognize these people that are in the various roles in leadership. They might even be running mentoring programs, or they might be running coaching programs and things along those lines, because there are a lot of women that don't get the respect that they need and everything like that. And I don't know what y'all think, but I don't claim to be the most religious person in the world, but I do consider myself to be a spiritual person. And I don't know any church that can't run without the women in that church and
Right.
everything like that. So it is definitely a
Mhm.
lot of the churches that are keeping the women that are keeping those institutions going. I mean, most of the churches may have men ministers, even though there are some women ministers as well. But no matter whether it's a man minister or a woman minister, the people that are keeping the church going, we know, are the women of the church and everything like that, because the women are definitely very much spiritually connected, as they are also very much nurturers as well and everything like that. So I'm a big fan of the church women, even though they get a bad rap in certain media portrayals and everything like that. But I'm also a big fan of not just the regular education, but those women that are running Head Starts and nursery centers as well, because there are a lot of women that are taking care of our children. You mentioned earlier, and I think I mentioned on one of our past shows, a friend of mine whose relative, I think it was either her grandmother or her great grandmother, was actually a midwife and was tried for basically doing this whole notion of practicing medicine without a license. But then and this was in an all white court, but when the judge realized that he had been born by this lady and everything, and when he asked the people, how many of you have had your children born by this lady and everything like that, and everybody raised their hands, I think he took off his robe and came down to where everybody else was and basically said, I cannot convict this woman, even though y'all have found her guilty. I am acquitting her, and all along those lines. And that story was told, I think, on this show and everything like that. So definitely, we got to have a great deal of respect for the women that are taking care of our youngsters, even in this day and time, including those that might be running daycare centers, might be running Head Starts, might be doing a number of other things as well. And I know that my nephews are going to go to college, and I'm hoping that they're going to have some great male teachers, but I'm also hoping that they're going to have some very powerful women teachers as well, that are teaching them a lot of things. Like I know that Julius wants to go into law, so hopefully he'll have some very powerful women lawyers that are teaching him the field as he goes into that particular field of study.
Thank you for that, Mark. How about you, Dean? Any parting words for today?
Yeah, and I think of women's history. I mean, we could be here all day rattling off names and things like that, but I'm just gonna name three. And two, well, all three of them were educators, and they were responsible for molded me into who I am today. First of all, my mother, Claudette Johnson Piercy, my godmother, Hazel Stone Rainey, and also another one of their colleagues who just recently departed this life, Dr. Jacqueline Justice Hopkins. They were hard but fair, and I thank them, even though I cannot thank them in person now, but for helping to mold those young minds that we had to be able to now take the baton and to go with it. When you think of, also, I found this little short spoken word, and with that, I'm gonna close it out and I'm gonna get out your way. But it says, March is a mirror held up to the brilliance of women who shaped this world, with hands that built, voices that challenge, and hearts that refuse to break. We celebrate the dreamers and the doers, Harriet, who followed the North Star, Sojourner, who questioned the nation's conscience, Ida, who wrote truth into the light, Rosa, who sat so justice could stand, Shirley, who walked into Congress unbought and unbossed. We honor the innovators, May, reaching for galaxies, Madam CJ, building empires from vision and grit, Katherine Johnson, calculating pathways to the heavens. We uplift the modern giants, Michelle, redefining grace and power, Serena, turning strength into poetry, Amanda, making words rise like dawn. But Women's History Month isn't just about the names and books. It's about the women in our families, our communities, our chapters, lodges, and neighborhoods, the ones who pray for us, fight for us, teach us, raise us, and hold us together when the world comes undone. So today we celebrate every woman, past, present, and rising, because when women lead, history doesn't just happen, it transforms. It's the Sixth Man, Dean Geronimo. Dr. Damon, I'm passing it to you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. So I'm going to say my parting words, and I will be dropping you off. All right. Okay. I hope everyone was able to get some knowledge today about the women and Women's History Month, what it means, and those women that have left a legacy. So as we honor the women making history right now, the mothers, the leaders, the creators, and the healers, and everyday women choosing themselves, choosing joy, choosing rest, choosing truth. Their stories matter just as much as their impact is just as deep. And then as we reflect, as you listen today, I invite you to pause and reflect on each woman. As Dean said, the past or the present has shaped the way you walk through the world, whose courage helped you find your own. Honor her, speak her name, carry her with you. And as always, on the couch, here are some closing remarks that I wanted to present to you all. Here's to the woman who paved the way. Here's to the woman walking it now. Here's to the woman becoming. Happy Women's History Month from all of us here on the couch. And we thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed this discussion today. Thank you, Anika. Thank you very much, Toya, for joining us this afternoon as well. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Dean, for joining us. And of course, as we go on in life, again, I hope you all learned something today from today's discussion. Peace, love, and tranquility. And we thank you so much for joining us on the couch. Catch us again in 2 weeks. And don't forget the Butterfly Room next Friday. Join us there where we will change minds, change hearts, and also help with healing. We thank you so much again for joining us here on the couch. Take care, everyone, and have a safe day. Enjoy your day and enjoy that sunshine. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of On the Couch. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found it as enlightening and inspiring as I did. Remember, the stories and experiences we share here are just the beginning of a much larger journey. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, look for the notification on Facebook, and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us keep the conversation going and reach more listeners just like you. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep the dialogue alive. Peace, love, and tranquility. Take care, and we'll see you on the couch.